Hello, welcome back to the series. In this particular video, we are going to be looking at introspect and opaque tokens, starting with opaque tokens. So the reason why we have the introspection endpoints from our authorization server is because of tokens such as tokens that are opaque. So when we simply say opaque token, the word alone defines it already. Opaque simply means you can't see through. Unlike the JWT's token we have been coming across from the authorization server after a user successfully authenticates, we can see that these tokens contains information, but for the opaque tokens, they don't contain any form of information. So you have to send a request to the introspection endpoint, passing your token as parameter, or perhaps sending it in form URL encoded in order for you to get details about the particular subject or about the particular user that is trying to access the server with that particular opaque token. So let's get started with it. So back to our application.com, our application configuration class, we want to define a new client repository. So you discover that now we have a couple of client repositories. Now this is going to be the third one. So I'll just highlight the whole of this, Control C, and basically I want to just paste it right here, and instead of client one this time around, we simply just call it client two, and client two should be the password, and secrets underscore two should be the password, while client underscore two should be the client ID. So what I will basically have to do now is just comment at first so you just understand properly. So this one is for, what did we cover previously? Okay, PKCE. I should be in uppercase. PKCE implementations. Now I'll just highlight the whole of this, Control C, and then I'll paste it right here. So instead of PKC implementation, this time I will have opaque tokens implementation. Okay, so we are still going to be applying PKC protection in this new definition of our token. So right here, we want to make changes as well. So instead of localhost 8082, we are going to change the port to 8083. Okay, now we still have OpenID as our scope. Then we have to change something. So inside of our token settings, let's see, we want to say dot, okay, access token format, which should simply be access OAuth2 token format dot reference. Okay, pardon me, I was thinking it follows the normal conversion we'll be saying. So it's going to be OAuth2 token format dot reference. Now we leave the rest things as they are. So this is basically the only change we want to make, and we also have to require the proof key. Okay, so I'll just simply tab this in and do the same thing with this ones as well. So this is just what we need, and now I'll start up my server. We still have our user defined as IO code. I'll start up my server, and we are going to be sending requests to our authorization server, but this time our redirect URL would be 8083 and our client ID should be client underscore two. So you know the drill already. So I'll start up the application. So now we're going to copy our code challenge at first. We'll come back for the verifier later. Control C, and back to Notepad. What I basically want to do is just okay, let's see, I'll just go down, add this comment that says opaque token implementation, and I want to paste this code this code challenge, and I'll still highlight the whole of these ones. Control C, they are basically the same. Control V. Now just change our new challenge that I'll pretty much update it to what we have here. So I'll paste it. And our method still remains the same, but our redirect URL this time around is 8083, and our client ID is client underscore 2. So, okay, I missed something. So before we just start implementation, I have to save our newly registered client. So I'll collapse this, and we should include registered client 2. Okay, so we're able to make use of this newly registered client. So I'll just close this file tree, and then I'll stop and run again. So while it's going to take some time to build up, let's make the necessary changes we have to make here. So I'll copy the whole of these ones as well, Control C. Okay, and back here, still building up. So right here under this one, I'll paste the above, separate with a space, a new line, and instead of client underscore 1, we have client underscore 2, secrets underscore 2. Our content type should remain the same. I will still have to pass in all of those credentials, all of those values. Okay, and our redirect URL should be 8083. Okay, I think I'm good to go. So back to IntelliJ, we want to copy our challenge again. So I'll just highlight it again, copy, and right here, let's update the value, Control V, and we have our response type as code. Client ID is correct. Redirect URL is also correct. And yes, we can just copy the whole of this. Now, Control C, move to our browser and paste it right here, and then we click on enter. So we're asked to log in. And then it's time to sign in. So right now we have our code. So I'm just going to copy the whole of the return code, and I'll simply highlight this one to update this code, Control V. And our code verifier, I know you know, is pretty much different. So we're going to, oh boy, okay, I made an error. I made a mistake. The mistake is that I copied the verifier instead of the challenge. So we'll have to make that correction. So right here, I'll simply just paste my verifier. Let's see, Control C, and back here, I'll paste my verifier. And I want to go back to copy the challenge so we can send our request back to the authorization server again. So I'll Control C again, and yeah, let's implement the correct challenge. So this should be Control V. So just to copy, we've already authenticated. So what is basically going to be returned is a redirect with our code. Okay, not this one, but this one. Since we have 8083, the other one was just 8082, and that is for the previous lecture. So now I have my code. Now I'll just copy the whole of this code again, and right here instead of notepad, I'll still have to update the value of my code. So I just paste it right here. So I'll copy the whole of the curl command, and take note, you can make use of Postman if you already have Postman, but you have to ensure that the application dash content type that you are sending is in XWW form URL encoded. So you have to make sure of that, and you send these values in separate lines. So Postman gives you the ability that you are communicating with the use of a GUI. Okay, so I just Control C And back to see my git bash, I'll simply paste it right here. Okay, shift insert and then send. Okay, now we want to take a look at what we have here. We have access token, okay, and then we also have refresh token. We also have an ID token. Now take a look at the access token that we have. Now this access token is different from the other access token we've been recovering prior to this moment, because this access token right now is an opaque token and I can't really get the details from this token except I use this token as a parameter to send a request to the introspect endpoint. So for me to do that, I'll have to type out the URL. Okay, so this should simply be http. So now this is our introspect endpoint. So we have OAuth2 at first slash introspect, and we're also sending it in the URL form encoded format, where we're also passing the credentials of our client, okay, which is client underscore 2 and secret underscore 2, and we're passing the token as the only parameter that is needed for us to get back the details of whoever is making this call. So I just Control C and back to git bash. I'll simply paste it here and then I'll send. So we get to see that we have an active status of true. The subject is simply IO codes. We have our audience as client 2, that is our clients that we've registered. Now I have a couple of other details such as the scope, and our token type is still bearer. Okay, we have that right here. So that pretty much brings us to the end of opaque and introspect. So introspect is mainly used, the introspect endpoint is mainly used to validate the details of the token, and it's not self-contained in the sense that it does not contain the details of the particular caller or the user. So that is what the introspect endpoint pretty much does. When we start implementing resource servers, we are going to see how the resource server can make a call to the introspect endpoint to validate the details of a particular user or to get details about a particular caller using this endpoint. So we see that it doesn't really contain any details, it's not self-contained. So that's why inside of our definition of this particular client, we get to see that inside of the token settings, our format is .reference. So it's practically referencing the details of the particular caller or the particular client in this application. So that brings us to the end of the introspect topic and opaque tokens. The next one we are going to be looking at how to revoke tokens, and afterward we pretty much have to make proper cleaning to what we have in our config file by creating an endpoint where we can just simply register clients, and those clients will automatically be stored in database. We don't really have to manually hard code all of this. So define an instance of our registered clients repository as a bin, a component, and then we see how to store the details of each client inside of our database. So to the next one, keep being your best self. I remain IO Codes.